In this video, I'm going to talk about how Spring handles static resources. What are the static resources? What are the static resources? It means all the JS files. Suppose you have JavaScript, okay, CSS files, and what others like JPG, or PNG, those images, like PDF files or HTML files, right? Those are static content resources. In a web application project, there is no need to have a controller or to have a servlet or to have a dispatcher servlet to handle those static resources. What that means is, if you have a request comes to ask for index.html or a dog.jpg, there is no class. You don't need to write a controller class to handle them. You just return what they ask. So in Spring MVC project, you also needed to do special things to make sure those static resources are being handled. So how to do that? First, let me go over Maven organized Spring MVC organized web application project structure. Okay. So this is my project name. Suppose call Spring MVC demo. Okay, this is your project name, and after that you have a src, right, folder. Then you have the main folder. Under the main folder you have a Java folder. This is a place you write all the Java classes like controller, services, repositories, domain models. Then you have another folder called the web app. Okay, under the web app, probably you have a JSP folder, and here you have a JSP called the index.jsp. Oh, sorry, I made a mistakes. Okay, not here. You can put it here, it's gonna be public, but in most our project we will keep our JSP private. Here we'll have a web inf. Then probably here you have a JSP folder, and here under the JSP folder you have a index.jsp file. Okay. And now, where is the location to put those JS file, CSS file, JPG image files? In a standard Maven web application project, you should put under the web app. Okay, normally we will put them on a folder called resources. Okay. And let me using another color. Okay, this is the folder you put your static resources. Okay, suppose you want something called images, then here you add another images folder, and then you put your, suppose I have a dog.jpg. And if you have a CSS, you can have another CSS here. Then you can put like a main.css. So now, how can I refer to this dog.jpg? You have by default setting. Okay, then you using this structure, which is start with web app. If in the web.xml you don't need to you don't configure anything, which means you only configure view resolver, component scan, and MVC annotation driven. And if in your JSP, this is a JSP code. Okay, here let me give an area here. This is your JSP code, which is your .jsp code. Suppose you have an image tag under the body. This is your body. This is the body. And you have src. Your context root is start under the web app. Web app gonna represent the context root. Okay, all the things. Then using resources and the images, and then doc.jpg. By the settings I mentioned above, it won't work. Okay, you have to do some configurations inside your XML file or inside your web application context config class to make sure it works. And what's the configuration? In the web.xml, it's gonna be like this. I'm gonna copy, okay? In the web.xml, you have to config like this. And this is called a default setting. Default setting means follows the structure of your project folder. And this web app is your top context root top directory. So you start with here, resources, images, doc.jpg, okay? And we always want to secure our information or our JSP page or images. We don't want the client or the customer know the actual location of our files. So it's a similar idea, like in a servlet, you have three names. You have the URL pattern, you have the you have the URL pattern name, and you have an internal name, you have the actual location of the servlet class name. And how to do that is, suppose you have a configuration like this. In your web.xml file, let me move it above, because I'm gonna have my image, my face of my image here, so you want to see. If you have this configuration inside your web.xml, and you have to give value to two part of the information. The first part is called the mapping, the second part of location. And in this case, my setting is not correct. The location here is not correct. The location, you will start with resources. So when I give resources, suppose you give images here. And then if you configure like this, how to access your image in the JSP. And you can do like this one, image src. So this is the URL you are using, okay? You're using resource. Okay. When you type a resource which map this URL, it means looking for the file under this location. When you type here, it will already map to this images folder. So the only thing you need to do is add doc.jpg. Okay, so if you have your configuration inside the MVC resource mapping like this, and in the JSP, you can using this URL to refer to this doc.jpg. Let me give you another scenario, okay? Suppose in your web.xml, you configure like this, MVC resources, and you have a mapping, which is /abc and asterisk asterisk. Okay, and the location is based on the structure of your folder. Okay, and here I just map to resources. So in this case, what's the URL to access this dog.jpg? It's gonna be image src equals, first, using this mapping URL, it's gonna be A, B, C, then slash. Okay, ABC will only map to resources folder, which means it only map to here. Then how to find this dog? You have to go to images, then go to dog. So the URL is images/dog.jpg. Okay, understand? And here I have another thing, which is this these two asterisk. What does it mean? Okay, let me using another here. Okay, here I have a two asterisk. Suppose you have a folder which is the structure like this one, A, B, C, D, and E. And if your mapping URL is ABC /*, this will only map to D. Okay, folder. It doesn't map to E. Got it? It cannot map to this slash. And in order you can also map to this slash, you have to using two asterisk. In other words, the two asterisk will map to subdirectory or subfolders. One asterisk doesn't map to subfolders. And this is XML configuration. And since I'm running out of the space, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save. How about I save this one into XM static resource. Okay, XML. Then I'm gonna create a new and for Java config version. Okay. So let me draw the Spring handle static resource. Okay, static resources, and I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw the structure again. The first one is your project name package, and then you have src package, then you have the main package, right? Probably if you have a test, then you can have a test package. And under main, you have a Java. Java is the where you put all your Java classes, and then you have a web app. In this folder, under this folder, you will put all the resources related to like JSPs or HTML or CSS, JS. Okay. And normally we will put our JSP under the web inf. Okay, then suppose I have a folder called view. Okay, let me make it clear. Called view, and then here I have index.jsp. Okay, so where to put your CSS or images here. Okay, normally you will create a resources folder. Okay, and suppose now here I create called a web. I create a CSS folder. let me not using web, let me using user. Okay, I have a lot of modules, then this CSS is only for the user module. Okay, then I have a CSS folder, then I have a main.css folder. So now in my index.jsp, I'm gonna using black. Okay, in my index.jsp, I have a link. Link is href or src. I think if I remember correctly, it's href to link for the CSS, right? In my index.jsp, I have the HTML, right? I have the HTML, and the link gonna be in the head. Okay, you have the head. You probably have a title or other things. So here, what's the URL put here in order to using main.css? By default, no, if we do not do any configuration, it won't work because Spring doesn't know how to handle static resources. So if you want the URL here to match your folders, okay, you have to configure like this. Wait for a second. Inside your public that annotation, oh my god, I cannot copy to paste here. Let me try one more time. Unfortunately, so if I cannot write, let me just write for you. Public, do you remember you have the configuration file? Configuration, that class called web application context config, and you implement. I learned, some student told me you actually don't using implements that web MVC configurer. It works in configurer. It sometimes works, but if you add a format, it doesn't work. You have to implement this web MVC configurer. And it has a method called very long configure default servlet handling. Oh my god, it's very long. Let me see if I can make a copy here. I really don't want to write. Wait for 1 second. I put it here and let me see if I can copy it. Okay. If I can copy. Okay. Oh, I can copy. Very good. Let me make it smaller. Okay. You put this, override this method, and this will enable the Spring to load your static content based on the structure of your project. So what's the URL? What's the URL? The URL gonna be, it start with your root. Okay, this part, this is your root. This is your root, and it's gonna be resources and user and CSS and main.css. This method equals, do you remember the MVC? The default, default servlet handler. Okay, default servlet handler equals to this one in the web.xml. And if you don't want to application, okay, which means you don't want this URL to map your folder structure, so you also can customize the URL. And the method you do is you override add resource handler method. So let me show you. Okay, it's too long, I cannot type. Okay, let me copy and paste it here. which means inside this class. Okay, how can I make it bigger? Inside this class, which is a web application context, this class, you add this configuration. Okay, you add this configuration. So what does this mean? Let me just put it here. Okay, let me put it here. Oh my god, let me put it here. It's gonna be so you can see both of them. So what does this mean? This means whenever I have a URL in the href start with my resources, it's gonna look about the location called resources. So when I type the URL my resources slash, it's gonna start looking to the folder here. This equals you are under this folder. So how can I access this main.css? If you configure like this way, you using my resources slash user css main.css. Got it? If I change the configuration a little bit, okay? If I change the configuration, let me using another color, okay? How about using the orange? Suppose this one I change to slash abc slash hello slash this one. And this one I change to slash resources slash user slash. Then how can I access this main.css inside my GSP? It's gonna using this URL slash abc slash hello. When you sorry, no slash here. Don't add a slash, okay? abc hello. This gonna locate to this folder, which is till here. Then you continue slash css slash main.css. You can also keep this method and this method both in that class. Then you can using the default constructor way. You can also using the customized way. And the problem of the leading slash, if you add a leading slash, sometimes it doesn't work if you have a context root. The best way in Spring MVC I suggest is instead of using the relative URL here, you using curl, or you using Spring URL. Then you give a value equals, then using slash abc slash hello and slash css slash main.css. And if you do like this way, it's guaranteed no matter how many like how many sub path you have, it's gonna work because it's gonna start with your context root. Okay, if you still have question, please comment below, and next video I'm gonna show you how to do in the code, okay, step by step. Thank you for watching, and see you soon. Let me close. Where's my mouse? Oh my god, where's my mouse? Okay, I cannot find my mouse. My mouse is